Hello world and true believers. This is Brenda, a lost Aspie girl, and I wanted to make today's video, actually first before I even start what I'm going to talk about, I wanted to give extra points to one Ben Riley for getting my quote. For those, yesterday, because I quoted a movie, I modified it also, but if for those of you, if you watched my video from yesterday, which was on cluttering, you'll know that, and if you didn't get it, I'll tell you that it was I was quoting the Vision from Avengers Ultron. So if you, I'll actually say it real quick now. So in the movie, he actually says, "I might maybe I am a monster. I wouldn't know if I were one. I'm not like you. I'm not what you intended me to be. So there may be no way for you to trust me." And then he picks up Thor's hammer, which nobody could do, and the Vision's able to do it. And there's a lot of speculation on why he can do that. I mean, we can get into that maybe in another video because I love talking about movies, and that is one of my top 20 favorites. So but I modified it because someone called me crazy, so I didn't know what to say, so I decided to modify that. And so I said, maybe I am crazy. I wouldn't know if I were, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and so in today's video, I was going to make a follow-up on my cluttering one, but I think I'm going to do that at a later date. Today I actually want to talk about, I've been entering some brain research studies to understand how my brain is different from everybody else's, and I actually started one this week. My first day was on Monday, and then I'll be going back like once a week for several weeks, and part of it is they're going to take my blood. They're also going to give me a functional MRI and a structural MRI to do a couple of different things, and they're also going to give me an EEG. And the reason they're taking my blood is because they want to grow stem cells from it, and they're going to grow actual nerve cells, and they're going to expose it to different things and different environmental variables, different states of, to see how it reacts, the nerve cells. And they'll actually be, depending on, like, they want to see if different things will stimulate it, grow different things from it. And if anybody doesn't know anything about, I actually have a little bit of background in this, so it's kind of cool talking to them about this. So they're not on the type of stem cells that you can actually grow anything besides. They're just nerves. They're going to be nerve cells, and they can cryogenically freeze them and have them up, and they can harvest them for up to 50 years and do various different things with them. And one of the things they might do is apply different types of medication directly to the nerve cells to see how they react, so that they can actually, because one of the problems with people that are on the spectrum and have various other neurological imbalances or chemical imbalances or different types of wiring in their brain is that we react poorly to medication. We're very sensitive to side effects, and they don't actually work. We tend to be med-resistant, and the medications will actually have very negative side effects on us. So this will actually be some really cool cutting edge research that will help determine what actually works and what doesn't work. And also they're looking for different types of genetic sequencing to find out what are the markers for people with different types of neurologies, and because especially because most people with Asperger's have some type of secondary commorbid disorder. What types of triggers are those? And also due to gender, that sometimes that actually makes a difference in certain things. And is that environmental, or is that genetic? Is it, what are the markers or the triggers or different things that are causing that? So there'll be this bank of a database. So some of it will be, will go into the database. They can use the blood for different things. They got one over my confidentiality for that. I mean, I can obviously talk about it if I want to, and I'm going to ask them, as I've done for my previous studies, if I can have a copy of my brain scans. They can't give me the EEG ones. I'm not sure why, but I can get a copy of my MRI scans. And one of them, and I've actually talked about this before, is the default mode of thinking. One of the things they're going to do is I don't know how this is going to work, but I've read about it. A couple of studies for this is that what parts of your brains are you using in your default mode of thinking? So I'll be in there part of it, and so a lot of it will be they'll create different types of stimulus to see how my brain reacts to that. But some of it will be just downtime, and they won't tell me what part of the downtime will be, just to see what my default mode of thinking will be. And you know what I mean? Just to see like what I start doing when there's nothing there to stimulate me. What parts of my brain light up? What am I doing? What am I thinking about? You know what I mean? And I've talked about that before, and how a lot of times people with Asperger's, their default mode of thinking is different than, and someone asked me about this, I always say neurosocial. So just an FYI, I made up that term. I think that neuroatypical is very apt for us. However, I think that the typical neurology, that calling it neurotypical can be slightly pejorative, but also I think that not everybody, just because they're not on the spectrum, it doesn't mean that their brain is typical. More often than not, they are, but that's not always true. And because I met a lot of people who aren't on the spectrum that are very intriguing and fascinating. So I don't want to say that. I'd rather say I think the part of the brain that separates us the most is the fact that, I mean, it's not that we don't want to be social, but we're not influenced socially the way I think of the social brain. Like the social psychology, like once I started reading like as many books as I could on ASD or autism or and Aspie's, and from our perspective and from various experts' perspective, and watching some videos and stuff like that, I realized the thing that caught me that brought up over and over again was like that the communication and social part of it, and that we're not influenced in that same way. And I was very fascinated by this, and so I started reading a lot about social psychology. And one book in particular caught my interest in it. It's called Social by Dr. Matthew Lieberman, and he talks about how people are wired to connect. And there's a chapter in there dedicated to autism, and it talks a lot about like how basically that's the thing that separates us. I also read this book called Paradigm Shift, and how I mean, most of the world is very influenced socially. Actually, it's kind of interesting. Before I even got diagnosed, I wrote this, for a while I had a website, and I got to do a new one. And I wrote this, I wrote this one post called Independent Thought versus Cognitive Dissonance. And it was basically about how the powers that be, whomever, like, you know, government, whoever that be, media, how they influence people with propaganda, and how people are, you know, they get so influenced socially. I mean, like familial things, socially, commercials, things like that. And I never seemed as susceptible to that. And I thought it was because I practiced what I called dialectical cognitive equilibration. That's what I called it. That was my thing. And because I would subject myself to things that made me uncomfortable. Like if I thought one way, I would read everything. Like I read all these books by this guy called The Nameless Hypnotist, who it's all about controlling girls. Like he reads these books on how to control girls. And girls would be like, "Why are you reading those books?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't I read those books? I want to know what these guys are doing to try to control us. Why wouldn't I want to know?" Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable, but how do you defend against something if you don't know about it? I also read all these books, one called, like, it was called, like, Women, the Ownership Manual, and it's how to own a woman. There are books out there that are like that. So, like, so maybe I will feel one way about something, but I'll read something that goes the opposite, because I want to learn about that, and I want to know about things that make me uncomfortable, even if it does make me uncomfortable. Although I don't like to watch the news, because I only like to watch things that I can actually feel like I can actually affect change in. And I mentioned to one person that I wrote this book called, I haven't tried to publish it yet, called Girl Warrior, and it's about being female on the spectrum, but not just about being on the spectrum, but also just being a girl in this world, and how I feel like, you know, what we can do as females to kind of affect change, and how, you know, kind of about some things about equality, but mostly about kind of how to defend ourselves in this world. I think, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to get into that all here because I feel weird. But hopefully I'll get the balls up to publish that. I also am working on these two other books. And I'll talk about those in a later video. And I do need to erect a new website. I have one. I called it The Minx because I read this comic book from the late 1990s. It was titled The Minx, and I named the website after that. But actually, because the Minx itself was taken, so I had triple X. But I called it my Unrepentant Trinity, and everybody thought that that was really inappropriate. And and I think that's my Aspie thing, where I just thought that, like, people would like, I didn't understand that people would, because in my mind a minx is not like, it's someone who's kind of like, like they're kind of a badass, and they're like, they're and like, you know what I mean, like they're not well behaved, but in a good way, like not in a, I don't know, but I guess like sometimes I don't always like that's the difficulty with how words sometimes evolve and change, and how people, because I was just thinking of the comic. There's actually two comic books, one from the 1990s, and it's about a girl. She actually has short blonde hair, and it's called this alternative universe where like there's monkey gods, and this one girl, she has multiple personality disorder, or a dissociative personality disorder. And one of her personalities is called the Minx. And so she's like this mild-mannered girl by day, but then she turns into the Minx at night sometimes. She just kicks ass. She's awesome. And I love those comic books, and I reread them every once in a while. And then there's another comic book called The Minx, and it's about this girl. She's part Native American, and she, in her dreams, she kicks ass, and she has like these cool two blades that she fights with and everything like that. And those are actually more recent, and so, and I fell in love with this, and I just and I kind of like that as an alias, but everybody said it was inappropriate, so that's why I changed my name to Lost Aspie Girl, and I gotta erect a new website with that. So I don't know. Again, I'll keep you guys updated about the study, because I thought that might be kind of cool for you guys to know. And for other people that are Aspie, like if you want, you can always join studies if you've been diagnosed and you want to. And because I like the idea that I'm kind of not just understanding myself, but being part of like something bigger that's helping us understand. Not necessarily, like I talked to them about it, it's like I don't necessarily think there needs to be like a cure for autism, but I think that understanding it and understanding what it means and how our brains are wired differently and things like that would be helpful. And also I think it would help the rest of society understand that, like I said, like that we're not defective, and but there are parts of it that I think that we could have help with. Like I know that usually people with Asperger's have or ASD or autism of any form have some type of secondary commorbid disorder, and I think that is not as much directly related to the Asperger's itself as that the environmental factors, that we're more sensitive to a lot of things than other people are, to foods and toxins and synthetics and noises and all kinds of things, and especially our microbiome. Like keeping that in balance is really, really important for people on the spectrum. We tend to have digestive disorders and things of that nature. And for myself, I know that since I started doing research on that last year, and since I started taking like digestive and systemic enzymes and stuff to help with digestion and help like clean out any debris and help me to actually cleave like the nutrients that I'm taking in to make sure that I actually absorb what it is I'm eating, I actually have a lot of my anxiety has actually decreased exponentially. Like it's taken a while, to get to where it needed to go, but it's actually helped with that quite a bit. I feel like I'm much more stable now than I was about a year ago. So maybe I'll actually get into a video about that, about balance and digestion, and especially because a lot of people that are on the spectrum, like for various reasons, like we're born and we have got microbiome problems. And then for me, I was a preemie. I was born about 2 months early. I weighed 3 pounds 6 ounces. My mom actually smoked while she was pregnant with me. I think that definitely impacted my brain development. And like preemies that are under 5 pounds are 5 times more likely to, or maybe to, like under 2 months. I don't remember all what all the stipulations for it were, but I remember I met them all. The criteria are 5 times more likely to have some form of autism. And usually most people, pretty much all people that have autism usually have some type of microbiome imbalance. And that causes a lot of other things. So I'm not saying necessarily that we're defect, but we do have to look out for other things because we're more likely to have anxiety and depression and a whole slew of other secondary comorbid disorders. So, I think that's important to think about and to research and make sure you're doing everything right to make sure you stay in balance. So that's all for today. I hope, I don't know, let me know if you have any feedback or anything like that. And if any of you guys want me to talk about movies, because that's one of my favorite things, and just an FYI, The Dark Knight is my favorite movie. I've seen it 152 times now. I watch it like at least once every couple months. Sometimes I watch it a few times in a month, or I watch like Fight Club is another one, and I love to and then a lot of movies from like the 80s and 90s, like American Psycho, Jaws, Conan, or like I'll be like, I want my $2, or Who Wants to Live Forever, or Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. I don't know, like whatever. I'm just always quoting weird things from movies, and a lot of times people don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Oh, they do, and they, and we get into conversations. But I don't know. That's probably weird to tell you guys. All right, have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.